247 Sports released their post-spring top 25 yesterday. I think y'all are going to like where the Longhorns ended up. We've got the poll on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You were locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. I won't bury the lead any more than I already have. The Texas Longhorns are ranked number 1 on the post-spring top 25 from our friends at 247 Sports. The rest of the top 5, if you're curious, Penn State is number 2. Ohio State, who of course Texas will see to open up the season, is number 3. Clemson at 4, and the Oregon Ducks round out the top 5. So interestingly enough, the Longhorns, the only SEC team in this poll. It's interesting. We're not going to spend too much time running down this entire poll 1 through 25. You can find that online. We're going to spend some time today talking about why 247 Sports believes Texas is the best team in America, at least here in early May. 3 reasons why you should be bullish on Texas, and 3 reasons why you can be a bit bearish on Texas. But we'll start with the positives. Why 247 Sports is so high on the Longhorns and why you should be too. Number 1, Arch Manning. I mean, come on, the next of kin in the first family of football, the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country a couple of years ago, the most hyped quarterback in the modern era of college football. Yeah, that guy. But it's not just the name, and it's not just the 5-star ranking. It's the fact that Arch Manning is going into his 3rd year at Texas, so he knows the offense. He knows his teammates. He knows the coaches. He knows what's expected of him. He knows everything, and he's learned from Quinn Ewers about how to be a successful starting quarterback at a place like the University of Texas, and it's also the fact that we've seen it. Not the biggest sample size, only 2 starts for Arch Manning in his first 2 seasons on the 40 acres. Of course, I think most Texas fans, myself included, wanted to see a little bit more of a sample size from Arch Manning this past season. But what we have seen from Arch has been really, really good. If you go back and look at the 2.5 games, real games that he played in, obviously he got some snaps in a bunch of games in 2024, but I'm talking about when he came in for Quinn Ewers against UTSA after Quinn got hurt. And then, of course, the 2 starts that Manning made the following 2 weeks against ULM and Mississippi State. Manning looked phenomenal, completed nearly 70% of his passes in those games, 806 passing yards, 8 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He also ran it for 82 yards and a couple of scores as well. I think every Longhorn fan remembers the 67-yard touchdown scamper against UTSA where Manning eclipsed 20, I think maybe 21 or 22 miles an hour on that play. A mobile Manning, I don't know if the world has ever seen anything like that. So he's got that dual threat ability that you obviously didn't have with Quinn Ewers. Obviously, Peyton and Eli weren't the most fleet of foot during their playing careers, but you've got that Cooper and Archie Manning athleticism showing up with Arch. The arm looked great. The deep ball looked pretty. I think most Texas fans agree that Arch Manning threw a better deep ball than Quinn Ewers did this past season. Again, much smaller sample size, but there are so many reasons to believe that this offense can take another step with number 16 under center. This guy is the total package. I think he's going to live up to the hype. And I think it goes without saying, Texas doesn't get the number 1 ranking in this poll without him. And they also don't get the number 1 ranking in this poll if Arch is a true freshman going into his first year of college football and, he's forced into action right away, right? The fact that he has been able to sit behind Quinn Ewers and learn, also the fact that he's got some real-life playing experience as well, in some big games and some SEC games too. I think all of those things combined are why people are so high on Arch, and a big reason why people are so high on the Texas Longhorns, and again, why you should be too. Number 2, reasons to be bullish on the Horns right now. This Texas defense. I know Jahdae Barron and Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton and Barron Sorrell are all gone. They heard their names called in the NFL draft. You're losing a few other guys from that defense. David Benda, who was a 6-year player, Bill Norton, Jermaine Lole, Gavin Holmes. I mean, guys who made an impact on the 2024 team. But you also return a ton. Most importantly, PK is back for another year. I mean, for years, even when Texas was pretty good at the end of the 2010s, or excuse me, the 2000s towards 2010, they were still having trouble keeping defensive coordinators in Austin for whatever reason. Throughout the 2010s, it felt like Texas was firing defensive coordinators every other season. Matter of fact, Pete Kwiatkowski is the longest tenured defensive coordinator at Texas since Bull Reese back in the late 90s and early 2000s. He's one of the best in America. Longhorn fans are lucky to have him. And we're also lucky that he doesn't have much interest in being a head coach, because if he wanted to, he could have gotten a number of head coaching jobs, not just any jobs, but I think power jobs in the last few seasons, considering how well he's done in Austin. But yeah, you've got one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. You also have Dwayne Akina back as well. And I know Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon did tremendous jobs with the Longhorn secondary in 2024, but every Texas fan knows how good Dwayne Akina is. I think just about every college football fan knows about Dwayne Akina and his ridiculously impressive resume. So you get him back in the fold to pair with PK, to pair with Johnny Nansen and Kenny Baker and the rest of this Texas staff. I think the coaching on that side of the ball is elite, but it's not just the coaching. It's about the guys on the field as well. And I think the talent is absolutely there between the sidelines, right? Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, Michael Taft. I think those 3 guys are all American caliber players. I mean, Michael Taft was one last year. Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons are going to be very high first round picks when their Texas careers are all said and done. Anthony Hill draft eligible after this season. Colin Simmons, thankfully, has to wait a couple of more before he can go pro. But you have 3 legitimate All-American candidates on this defense, one at every level. Colin Simmons, an edge rusher, Anthony Hill, a linebacker, Michael Taft, a DB. Like, I don't know how many teams in the country can say that. And it's not like, oh, they got to have a great season. This has to go right. That has to go right. They got to do this perfectly to even have a chance. No, all 3 of those guys, again, are legit superstars in college football. They could be All-Americans, and they could be all SEC guys too. Excited to see them. But of course, it's not just those 3. You've got Ethan Burke going into his senior year. You've got Trey Moore returning to Austin for one more season. Leonga Lafau looks good. Hell, we talked about a mock draft last week that has Manny Muhammad going in the first round in 2026. That guy's a stud. You are loaded with talent, loaded with experience, and not just any experience, but big game experience as well. Those guys were a part of a number of big games this season. Hell, they've been a part of a number of big games the last 2 seasons for the Longhorns. And yeah, loaded with talent, great coaching, great experience. This Texas defense has just about every box checked. Even though they're losing some key pieces, there's so much talent waiting in the wings. And again, there are a lot of really, really great players who are returning for at least one more season. Number 3, why you should be bullish on Texas football. Sustained success. What does that mean? Well, Texas was obviously great in 2023. They won the Big 12 in their final year in the conference. They made the 4-team playoff. Awesome. It was a fantastic season. I was curious to see if they were going to be able to sustain it. I had my doubts. I mean, the last time this fan base bought in on Texas after a good year was after the Sugar Bowl win over Georgia in 2018, where Sam Ehlinger declared that Texas was back, and Tom Herman, you felt like he was the guy and he had things going in the right direction. And there were so many reasons for optimism after that game and just that season as a whole. It felt like Texas was on the ups, and then things fell apart in 2019. And obviously Herman lost his job in 2020. So I think my UTSD was kicking in, and it's like, all right, we've been here before. The last time we were in this spot, we all got excited and got our hopes up and felt like, hey, Texas truly was back. The team went out and let us down. And I was curious, hey, Texas lost 11 players in the 2024 draft. Do they have enough returning to get back to the playoff and compete in the toughest conference in the sport? Those were questions I had. I know some of y'all had them too. Texas obviously answered those questions with resounding yeses, sustained success. So even though Texas now loses 12 guys in this year's draft, they've proven that they can withstand losing double-digit players to the league. The talent is too good. Texas brought in a great portal class. They obviously brought in the number one recruiting class in the country, and that continues a trend of top 5 classes that Sark has been putting together. The coaching is too good. Speaking of Steve Sarkisian, I think at this point, you give Texas the benefit of the doubt because they have proven that they can do what Alabama did under Nick Saban, what Georgia's doing under Kirby Smart, what Ohio State does, what the best of the best teams do. They lose double-digit players to the NFL every year, and it doesn't bother them. They don't win it all every single season. Obviously, Texas hasn't won it all in a while, but they're always in the mix. And I think Texas, I know it's only 2 years, but I feel good that Texas is always going to be in the mix in the Steve Sarkisian era. So that sustained success, seeing it last year, I think we're going to see it continue into 2025. So those are the 3 reasons why Texas is worthy of that number 1 ranking. You could probably give a few more. If I missed some, comment below with your thoughts. But now we've got maybe the 3 biggest questions that could cause Texas to fall short of number 1. And we'll get to that next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, how about a word for our friends at FanDuel? The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shots or breakout players, it doesn't matter. There has never been a better time to get in on the action, and our friends at FanDuel make it so easy to get in and stay in the game before tip-off and after the game tips. They've got player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. I'm telling y'all, more ways to win than ever before. Which players are going to show up in the biggest moments, which teams are going to pull off the upsets. We've seen some craziness to start off round 2 in the NBA postseason. Yeah, our friends at FanDuel have you covered. And what about $200 in bonus bets? That's pretty exciting. Yeah, if you're new to FanDuel, head over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If that bet wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Again, FanDuel.com. Your first $5 bet wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. We talked about the good in the first segment, right? Why Texas could start and, more importantly, finish the season as the top-ranked team in the country. Here are 3 reasons why things might not go according to plan for Sark and company. Number 1, it's the obvious one, injuries. Promise the other 2 aren't as obvious. We're going to get a little bit more detailed here in a second. But look, everyone suffers injuries. It's going to happen. You're playing 15, 16, maybe 17 games now in this sport. The good news is Texas has plenty of depth. Like the Longhorns' second team might be a top 25 to 35 team in America. Seriously. This team is so deep. I felt that way last year. I feel that way again this season. Texas's backups could easily make it to a bowl game. And again, they could make some noise in college football too. So they got depth, but if the quantity of injuries arises and the quality of the players getting hurt arises, that could spell trouble. Arch Manning misses 2 months. The season's over. I know Texas went out and got Matthew Caldwell. I know we think Trey Owens is pretty good and KJ Lacey was if Arch Manning misses 2 months, the season is over. If, Trevor Gooseby goes down, if Anthony Hill goes down, if, Michael Taff and Manny Muhammad both go down. I'm knocking on wood a bunch here, so I don't get blamed just in case something like this happens. But if you lose high-quality players at premium positions and you lose multiple guys like that, then you could be in some trouble. So one guy getting hurt doesn't derail the season, unless it's your quarterback. But the wrong guy or multiple wrong guys, if they go down and have to miss a significant chunk of the year, that could prevent Texas from making it back to Atlanta for the SEC title game and making it back to the college football playoff as well. So Sark recruits well. They've done a lot to add to the depth of this team, but it goes without saying injuries could derail anybody's season, and Texas is no exception. Number two, the offense just doesn't find a rhythm. You're breaking in a lot of new faces on that side of the ball. New quarterback, 4 new offensive linemen, a bunch of new receivers, a new tight end. There's talent there. That's why Texas is number one on this poll. But if the cohesion isn't there, that could spell trouble. Obviously, week one, you're going on the road to the defending national champion's house. You can lose that game, still in the SEC, still make it to the college football playoff. Obviously, it's not ideal, but as we go forward through the rest of the season, if just the offense looks off and they're not clicking and just it feels like the chemistry is off between quarterback and pass catchers and this offensive line just isn't as sharp as the one we've seen the last 2 years, like all of those things could cause problems. Arch not developing chemistry, inexperienced offensive line. Let's say the transfers, Emmett Mosley the fifth and Jack Injuries, they aren't up to par. They can't take the leap from the ACC to the SEC. Texas continues to deal with red zone struggles, short yardage problems, penalties. Like if those things come back, it's a problem. So I get it. There's a lot of ifs there, but if this offense, as I say, if again, if they lost too much from last year's team, again, there's only 3 starters back from last year's team. 8 guys, that is a lot to replace. And you've got a couple of key pieces coming off of an injury as well. If they just don't find their rhythm, then it could spell trouble for Texas. But they win that Ohio State game. They're in a great spot. The good news is the games in weeks 2 through 4 are very winnable. So it should give Texas some time to find that rhythm that they need to get. But when the calendar flips to October and Texas plays 4 straight games away from home, obviously you have the Red River Shootout in the mix there as well. And this offense doesn't have it figured out, then that could cause some problems. Number 3, last but not least, the secondary takes a step back. Now, this is definitely my UTSD kicking in because Texas was a top 10 pass defense in college football last year. Hell, they were top 2 before that Clemson game when Cade Klubnik kind of picked Texas apart in the second half to make things a little bit more interesting than we had hoped. But this was one of the best groups in America, and they have so much talent to where they should be amongst the best secondaries in the country again in 2025. But I can't get 2023 out of my head. It was a disaster. And Texas ranked in the 100s. I think they were 106th or 107th in the country in passing yards allowed per game. Minor miracle that they still won the conference and made it to the CFP. It obviously cost them in that college football playoff loss to Washington. I know that was 2 years ago, but Texas loses the Thorpe Award winner and Jahdae Barron, who was a first-round pick to Denver. And you lose maybe your best safety in Andrew Makuba. No disrespect to Michael Taft. We praised him last segment. We'll continue to praise him in future segments. He's awesome. But that was the biggest difference between 2023 and 2024, right? Like Texas had the same secondary coaches. Jahdae Barron was there in 2023. Michael Taft was there in 2023. The newcomer was Andrew Makuba. And I don't think it's a coincidence, just happenstance, that the Longhorns went from outside of the top 100 to the top 10 with a guy like Andrew Makuba, who was a 3-year starter at Clemson, coming into the fold. That guy was Johnny on the spot, incredibly smart. His instincts were great. He was fast. He was athletic. He just made things happen. So you lose your best corner. You lose your most impactful safety, 2 guys who were instrumental to that group's turnaround. Maybe that's a problem. I love Manny Muhammad. But you wonder, okay, what if his late season struggles linger into this year? What if Derek Williams Jr. doesn't come back the same player he was before the injury? What if Texas can't find a number 2 cornerback that they love? What if the 2 new DB coaches that Texas has, of course, Gideon and Joseph, are gone? What if just Texas doesn't take to the coaching of those guys? Again, a lot of what ifs here, being overly negative. I think the secondary is going to be really good again. And Steve Sarkisian does too. I think we played the sound a couple of weeks ago on a previous episode of Sark talking about the secondary maybe being the deepest position on this team. If he feels great about him, I probably should too. But again, you're losing some valuable pieces there, and you're replacing a couple of coaches there who are really good in 2024. So is it the craziest thing in the world to think that there could be a step back there? I don't think so. That's a little bit of a question mark for me. And again, that's something that could prevent Texas from being a top 5 team in the country. Again, Texas is number 1 on this poll. I'm not trying to scare y'all into thinking the Horns are going to be 8-4 or anything like that. But those are a couple of questions that I have and a couple of things that could pop up that could prevent the Horns from making it to their 3rd straight college football playoff. Overall, I feel great about this team. I don't think 247 Sports is too far-fetched putting Texas at the top. I'd have them in the top 3. At the very lowest, they would be number 3. And I think when the real poll comes out, the AP poll in August, I think Texas will be somewhere in the top 3. And maybe there's a chance they are the number 1 team going into that game in Columbus. All right, comment below with your thoughts. Why are you bullish? Why are you bearish on Texas? Would love to hear from you people. Yeah, I said it. You people. All right, Texas baseball. Let's shift gears here. The Longhorns looking to get back on track after the embarrassing weekend in Fayetteville. We will preview the Horns' final midweek game of the season. Yeah, regular season nearing a close. We'll talk a little Texas baseball coming up next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts who are ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries: IT, AI, marketing, web development, whatever you're looking for. If you need extra hands for a short-term deal, or if you're looking for a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. It's the right talent, experienced talent. They know what they're doing. It's fast, it's easy hiring, and it's cost-effective growth. I'm telling you, if you're a business owner and you want to elevate to another level, you got to go see our friends at Upwork.com. Head over there, Upwork.com, and post your job for free. UPWORK, Upwork.com, and connect with the top talents and grow your business today. All right, back here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. A bit of a surprise yesterday. Despite getting swept at Arkansas and losing all 3 games by 5 runs or more, Texas baseball is still the number 1 team in the country in this week's D1 baseball poll. Now, the Horns dropped a bit in the other 2 major polls. Georgia is number 1 in both, which is kind of funny considering Texas swept Georgia here in Austin a few weeks ago. But hey, in the most popular poll, the one that the TV networks use when they're putting those little numbers by the side of the team names on their broadcasts, Texas is still number 1. It's good news. Care more about winning the SEC. You care more about what the committee thinks, right? You want Texas to be a top 8 seed. And after you saw the Longhorns look the way that they did on the road in a hostile environment, you really want the Horns to be a top 8 seed so they don't have to go on the road in a regional or a super. But yeah, good news. Texas had done so much in every other week that they can get their ass kicked, for lack of a better phrase, and still stay at the number 1 spot. Let's see how the Horns bounce back. Texas will take on Lamar University at 6:30 tonight. Lamar's a solid team. They won the Southland Conference last year. They should have made the tournament. They had 44 wins in 2024. They're 37-14 this year, 17-10 in the Southland Conference. They're in the mix to win their league again. Here's the part where I stop scaring you. They haven't beaten anybody good. Their 2 toughest games, they played A&M in College Station last Tuesday. They lost 13-6. I guess their second toughest game is Houston. That's the only other power conference team they've played. Houston's not very good this year. They lost that game 11-6. So the 2 power conference teams that Lamar has gone up against, a 13-6 loss to A&M and 11-6 loss to Houston. Not really any other games worth writing home about. I'm not even sure the Houston game is worth writing home about. Who's writing home these days? Anyways, I don't know. First meeting between Texas and Lamar since 2020. The Longhorns 35-7 all time against the Cardinals. Almost feel bad for Lamar. Again, I know they're having a good season, but I expect Texas to unleash some anger on the Cardinals tonight. Of course, Texas has had an extra day off because it was a Thursday to Saturday series at Arkansas. You know practice has been rough these last few days. You know the players have been hearing it from their coaches, and you know these guys have been chomping at the bit to go play somebody else. Sure, practice has been tough and competitive. There's been a lot of yelling going on and a little bit of soul searching probably happening as well. think this Texas team is just ready to go up against somebody wearing a different colored uniform, and Lamar is that team tonight. Now, Texas won't use any of its best pitchers, more than likely, because of the big SEC series coming up against Florida. You're trying to win a conference title. You're trying to keep those guys healthy for the postseason. You don't want to waste any of your big arms against Lamar. So you assume Cade Bing will get the start, and then Schloss will go from there. But the bats, you'll have the starters in the lineup at the plate. Can the bats show up? They did put up 8 runs in that series finale on Saturday after 0-1 in the first 2 games of the weekend. But Texas had 38 strikeouts in those 3 games at Baum-Walker. 38 strikeouts. About 13 a game. About half of the outs that were recorded were strikeouts, which, that's new. Texas, one of the most disciplined teams at the plate all season long. Schloss and Troy Tulowitzki have done a tremendous job. Texas, I don't know if the stat still rings true, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, Texas was seeing more pitches per plate appearance than any team in the SEC, and I think they were top 5 in the country in that category. All of a sudden, just non-competitive at-bats against the Hawks. Arkansas, great team, great pitching, tough environment. So I think you're going to see a little bit better ABs tonight. You better see better ABs tonight against Lamar. But yeah, just put the ball in play a little bit more. Better plate discipline, see a few more pitches, be more competitive in the batter's box. Lamar's not a great defensive team. They've committed a lot of errors. It's a good strategy to put the ball in play against anybody you go up against. But again, a weak defensive team in Lamar, you really want to put the ball in play and make some things happen. But hopefully a big bounce back for, Mendoza and Schussler and Flores and Galvan and just everybody who has been so great this year for Texas, just kind of no-showed, especially in the first 2 games against the Hogs. Got to get the bats right, get them some momentum, and hopefully this is a relatively easy win for Texas to get things back on track and give the boys some confidence going into, again, a big series against a Florida team that's won 4 straight SEC series. We'll obviously preview those 3 games later in the week. That's a Friday to Sunday piece coming up. But, Texas trying to close out an SEC regular season title, trying to make sure they hold on to a top 8 national seed, and trying to hold on to the number 1 ranking in the D1 baseball poll. Again, 6:30 tonight at the Dish. Texas hosts Lamar from Beaumont. That's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you made it this far, number 1, thank you. Number 2, please like, please subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please share. Please rate 5 stars. All of those great things. If you do any of them, that's great. If you do all 5 of them, I love you. And thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Portal Show. Brian Smith has all of the latest rumors. He's got the portal entries and signings, everything that you need to know about in the ever-changing college football landscape. You can find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Plenty more Texas football conversation. And, of course, we'll recap this Texas baseball game on tomorrow's show as well. As always, appreciate y'all tuning in. Until next time, horns up, mic's off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.